This is the weekend edition of iFiber One News, where we present some of the top stories from this week and your weekend weather forecast. I'm Bethany Jenks. Stay tuned for the weekend edition of iFiber One News.
From the iFiber One HD studio here in the heart of the Columbia Basin, this is iFiber One News, your number one source for local news, sports headlines, and our very own Weather Center forecast covering the entire Columbia Basin. This is iFiber One News, and it starts now.
One of our top stories for this week was about Tuesday's election results, where voters in Moses Lake rejected a bond measure to build a second high school, but approved the maintenance and operations levy. Reporter Devin Higgins has the story.
In the banquet room inside Michael's on the Lake, the atmosphere was optimistic for members of the Moses Lake School District gathered to get the election results Tuesday night. Smartphones were checked and rechecked as the 8 p.m. deadline passed, and Superintendent Michelle Price delivered the news.
Wow. That's huge.
How you doing?
What was the bond last time?
Grand County voters gave the district a new maintenance and operations levy, but not a new high school. The $98 million construction bond, which would have financed a new high school and extensive renovations to Moses Lake High School, required a 60% supermajority to pass. Of the nearly 7,400 ballots submitted, only 54% voted yes. The M&O levy, meanwhile, passed easily with 64% approval, giving the district between $17 million and $18 million in annual revenue over the next 3 years, which is about 22% of their annual budget. Voters approved all of the levies running on the ballot on Tuesday with large majorities. The Ephrata and Quincy School District levies received 66 and 67% of the vote, respectively. The Grand Coulee School District received a slightly lower percentage of yes votes, but was still more than enough to meet the simple majority requirement of 50% plus one. Moses Lake ran the only construction bond on the ballot. With the high school currently 700 students over capacity, Superintendent Michelle Price said the district is already planning on how to adjust to the lack of new space.
So the school board did make a decision that we would implement the year-round track schedule, multi-track schedule in the 2016-2017 school year, absent additional facilities. So the board will start with a study session to take a look at that decision, to take a look at the results of the bond, and to talk about what's next.
Members of the school board of directors and bond campaign committee also voiced their disappointment at the outcome.
For the bond, yes, I'm very disappointed. However, the community was given the opportunity to decide what they wanted to do, and we will take that vote and we'll figure out what we're going to be able to do to serve all these kiddos that are coming. So we'll just start. We've probably already got the committee going, and we'll see what we can do. It's what we've got.
I think people are worried about increased taxes, and I don't like paying a tax bill, but it is what it is. It's what we sign on for as Americans, and so I think there is also a push that people don't want to divide the community, and I understand that, but when you divide, sometimes you create more opportunities, and so we're sadly going to miss out on that, at least for now.
We felt that we really came up with a good solution for our children, and it was what we needed, which was a new high school, because obviously having over 2,300 students in a high school that's built for 1,650 students doesn't work. And it makes it very difficult for our teachers, for our students, and other options have to be considered. And the school board has already come up with an option that we were hoping to be able to avoid.
The final election results will be certified by the county on February 23rd. In Moses Lake, Devin Higgins for iFiber One News.
Our next story is about Habitat for Humanity of Greater Moses Lake, which handed over the keys to their 13th home built for a deserving family. Reporter Cameron Probert has the story.
For Alexandra Colin, Saturday marked the first day in her new home. The Lowry Drive house is the 13th built by Habitat for Humanity of Moses Lake. Colin, her 3 children, and her mother were living in a 2-bedroom apartment before she applied to the organization for help.
And then there was mold in the bathroom, there was mold in the rooms, and I knew that I needed to do something, Financially, I wasn't able to get a bigger place at that moment. But when I applied for Habitat, it helped tremendously.
She said it was an amazing feeling when she heard she was chosen to be the next partner with Habitat.
It was a weight lifted off my shoulders. It's like, that help that I've been asking for. They, gave me that opportunity to be a homeowner is just a dream come true.
She and her family worked at least 300 hours on the house and helped with the organization's Festival of Trees fundraiser. They helped install the floor and clear rocks from the yard. For Colin, her volunteering isn't going to stop with the construction of her new home.
I'm going to continue volunteering. I'm very appreciative to them, and I'm very grateful that I want to continue helping other families to be able to have their homes as well.
For iFiber1 News, this is Cameron Probert reporting.
And now we take a look at people being sought by law enforcement.
This is Sheriff Tom Jones with the Grant County Sheriff's Office. Each of the people you see here have a warrant for their arrest. If you see any of these people, we ask you do not attempt to detain or apprehend them, but call us at 509-762-1160 or send us an email at crimetips@co.grant.wa.us. If the person is presenting a danger, call 911. With your help, we can bring these people to justice and make our community safer.
We'll be right back after this.
At Moses Lake Community Health Center, we have had the privilege to serve the local communities since 1978.
What I like about working at this clinic more than any other clinic that I've worked at is the patient care. With the patient care team that we've assembled, it allows us to take care of as many facets of the patient and their family's needs.
Please take the opportunity to experience the high-quality care provided at our clinics.
Just when I thought the blizzard couldn't get any better, DQ put the blizzard inside a waffle cone. This is mind-blowing. So when DQ asked me how I would tell the world, I said... Sounds better in Italian.
Pretty impressive, Liz. Any blizzard, like confetti cake, now in a fresh-baked waffle cone. This is fan food, not fast food.
Well, hi there, everybody. Meteorologist Don Morelli with you here on iFiber Channel 1 News Weather. Your forecast, of course, brought to you by Bud Cleary Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. Well, the thermometer remains in the above normal category, and that'll be the menu not only right through the weekend, but even into early to midweek next week at least, even though a cold front's coming through during the weekend. And with the cool front, maybe a few sprinkles to start the day Saturday, overnight Friday, Saturday. But other than that, no really big chance of any precipitation here in the Columbia Basin. A slight chill to start the week as a secondary cold front comes through Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. So Monday, Tuesday, a little cooler. And as has been the case off and on the past month or two, when we get in this sort of pattern, we see a little bit of low clouds and fog during the morning hours. That might come back our way by midweek next week. In the meantime, 55 and 43, the extremes today, the morning low above what the normal daytime high should be. Back in 1977, we set a record of 64 degrees. And just a few years ago, we set a record in Moses Lake, just near 60, around 59. Once again, the morning low, just where the daytime high should be. So no complaints with the temperatures. I hope there's no complaints. In fact, what a bright evening we're settling into. 52 degrees, a little bit of clouds, especially over the mountains and to our north. 43-degree dew point, a light west-southwest breeze that'll be shifting to the west-northwest overnight. In fact, we're watching a cold front during the day on Friday that'll continue to push into the west coast and looking into the Cascades overnight and into our area. Briefly, in the pre-dawn hours, you saw a little band of moisture that may come on through. That's why we have a slight threat of a sprinkle after midnight and say before 9 a.m. on Saturday. Other than that, things are looking pretty good, not only through the rest of the weekend, but into early next week. So specifically for our Friday, clouds moving in with showers, especially west of the Cascades, and maybe moderate in intensity. Again, that's not coming our way till overnight into Saturday morning. Inland northwest and back into our neck of the woods, not too bad of a last day of the work week. In fact, zooming on in, you can see we are looking for temperatures approaching 60 in some areas. So a good 15 degrees or so above where we should be, at least 10 to 12 degrees above normal. So no complaints. And as we slide through the 7 days, you can see After maybe a morning sprinkle on Saturday, the weekend's looking pretty good. Guys, get the candy, get the reservations for some nice dinners. You still got time till Saturday afternoon, evening. Then we have a holiday weekend with the President's Day looking pretty good as well. A little cooler as we slide into Tuesday, Wednesday, but all in all, looking pretty good. Well, keep it here on iFiber Channel 1 News Weather. Sports is coming up next.
What's the best way to celebrate Valentine's weekend? It's the Sweetheart event going on now at your nearest Toyota dealer. It's your chance to choose from 9 different Toyota models with an additional $1,000 in Sweetheart bonus savings on top of current incentives. Toyota's Sweetheart event is 4 days only, so don't miss this chance for amazing savings, even if it's for you. For full details, visit any of your Inland Empire Toyota dealers today. Toyota, let's go places.
The Lady Vikings are looking to make it 5 wins in a row when they head to Treasure Valley tonight. Sophomore guard Elizabeth LaRue has been a big part of the team's recent success. Reporter Sean Wells had a chance to catch up with her on the sidelines.
Elizabeth LaRue is a sophomore guard from Hunters, Washington. She's a spark for the Vikings off the bench and loves the team's fast-paced offense.
I think one of our number one is transition, is we can get it up the court, all of us can run, and a lot of teams aren't as quick as us, and so I think that's one of our huge attributes.
Coming out of high school, Elizabeth knew she wanted to play for a certain coach, Coach Wilkes.
Coach Wilkes was the only person who wanted to look at me for college, and I've always wanted to play college, and so when he offered me and said, "I want you to play for me," I took the chance, and so now I'm here and playing.
Elizabeth thinks her team can win the NWAC championship if they stick together.
I hope, and I'm pretty sure we can. If we really dedicate ourselves to practice and push ourselves really hard, I think we can. If we really work hard and want it.
For iFiber 1 News, Sean Wells.
Kyle Wilcher scored 21 points and grabbed 10 rebounds, and number 3 Gonzaga routed Loyola Marymount 80-51. Brzemek Karnowski and Byron Wesley scored 11 points each for the Zags, who extended their current win streak to 18 games. Gonzaga scored the first 20 points of the contest. The Zags hit 10 of their first 15 shots to push the score to 27-4 with 9 minutes and 12 seconds left in the quarter. David Humphreys scored 11 points for the Lions, who didn't make a field goal for the first 12 minutes. Loyola shot just 12% in the first half and trailed 44-15 at the break. Lions coach Mike Dunlap said his team ran into a cocktail mixture of Gonzaga's talent and vocal home crowd. He said point guard Kevin Pangos, who had 9 points and 8 assists, is the best all-round player in the league. The Zags at 25-1 have won 39 consecutive home games. It's the nation's longest streak. The Ephrata Lady Tigers host Wapato tonight in a district first-round loser-out game at 7. The Tigers finished 4th with a 13-5 record in the CWAC standings. The Wolves finished 2 games back at 11-7. The team split games in the regular season. Wapato bounced Ephrata out of the first round last year, so this should be a good one as the Tigers look for redemption. In other Basin sports, Warden basketball takes on Tonasket in a second-round district loser-out game. Moses Lake basketball finishes out regular season play at West Valley tonight. Both teams are looking to nail down the number 2 seed to the district tournament that gets underway next week. The girls could finish as high as the number 1 seed if Sunnyside knocks off Wenatchee. Good luck to all local area wrestlers who are competing at regionals this weekend. The top 3 in each weight class will advance to the MAC Classic State Meet at the Tacoma Dome February 20th and 21st. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Kono. I am your local Ephrata Farmers Insurance Agent. Here at Cheryl Kono Insurance Agency, Our customers always come first. We don't just work here, we live here. Please stop by the office, call, email, or Facebook me for a free auto, home, life, business, or farm and ranch quote today. We are insurance. We are farmers. Come in for a free quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Well, one thing I knew from being a patient myself was that a dental office is a scary place to come to. And so we wanted everything possible to make sure that our office is a comfortable place for our patients to visit. The patients that I have, my clients, have made me a part of this community, and we want to give back in every way possible.
Our next story is about Grant County Coroner Craig Morrison and how he manages to see a positive side in his challenging job. Reporter Jeff Chu has the story.
Few jobs are more challenging than that of a coroner. Grant County's elected coroner, Craig Morrison, can attest to that. There's the responsibility of notifying next of kin that they have lost a loved one, possibly a child, to suspicious circumstances such as foul play. Then there's the reality that death never waits for the right time to happen. So the on-call coroner must accept dismal, bloody crime scenes at odd hours of the day or night.
You ask about a typical day at the office, and honestly, that's what I like about my job, is that there is no typical day at the office. When we come into the office, we don't know what's going to happen.
But Morrison, who has been in what he calls the death care industry most of his life, working at and directing funeral homes, manages to see the upside of the job. He says after 4 years on the job, he's almost accustomed to it.
Yeah, I would say normal is whatever you get used to. So, yeah, being used to it a little bit to some degree.
As coroner, Morrison investigates any death that falls under his jurisdiction. The deaths he and his two investigators examine include those that are sudden, unexpected, violent, or suspicious.
Our job is to investigate deaths to determine the cause and manner of death.
Morrison says the process involves gathering information, examining the scene of the death, interviewing relatives, friends, healthcare professionals, law enforcement personnel, witnesses, and others. His job is to examine a deceased person's body externally and internally, including microscopic and toxicological examination. Forensic pathologist Eric Keisel is called in from Tacoma for autopsies that Morrison and his staff assist. In 2014, the Grant County Coroner's Office examined 408 deaths in the county. Morrison says that's down from 2013, but it was the first year it has decreased and continues to rise with population growth.
Of the 408 last year, I think 35 or 40 received autopsies. The year before was a little higher.
Morrison accepts the fact that his job is morbid, but he sees a positive end to those affected by a loved one's violent or mysterious death.
We're dealing with the dead human body. And I suppose the thing that we do mostly is respect that. And we want to know why that person died. And is it a place that the findings that we have, will it help the family that's left behind? Most of the time it does.
While the coroner's offices are located on West Ivy Avenue in Moses Lake, Morrison and his staff spend much of their time at their autopsy room deep inside Samaritan Healthcare Hospital off East Wheeler Road. The autopsy room is next door to a morgue, a refrigerated room where bodies are stored for scheduled examinations. The autopsy room includes an examination table, a floor scale to weigh the body, and a hanging scale to weigh body parts. Morrison explained what determines the need for an autopsy.
Well, there's certain protocols that we go through on a homicide type situation. We work directly with law enforcement. It's not our job to catch the bad guy, but the findings that we have need to uphold their story. You know, what happened. When we get into autopsy here and we're following bullet traces and things along those lines, does that collaborate with their story? Do they need to go, well, maybe that didn't happen this way if the body's telling us that it happened a different way?
Morrison says the worst part of his job involves examining child deaths.
More often than not, we're doing autopsies on children to to get rid of the stigma that goes around that. You know, parents are beating the kid, or maybe they're not being taken care of how they should have been. And like I say, more often than not, it releases that from them.
The coroner's office has 2 vehicles to respond to crime scenes. They are equipped with computers, examination equipment and materials, body bags, and gurneys to move the bodies. Morrison was joined by one of his 2 investigators, Casey Sherwood, who has a similar background to his boss in funeral services. Sherwood echoed Morrison on why he likes the job.
Getting to interact with families and helping them answer questions that they may not know, it is very rewarding.
I'm Jeff Chu for iFiber One News.
We'll be right back.
Have you been to iFiber1.com? The most up-to-date news in the Columbia Basin is just one click away. With news, sports, and weather, you can stay in the know with what's going on in your community. Read your news on the go by visiting iFiber1.com on your tablet or even your phone. Follow us on Facebook for quick updates and discuss the news with others in our area. Your number 1 news source in the Columbia Basin is iFiber1.com. Check it out today.
Attention business owners. The deadline is fast approaching to advertise in the 2015 edition of the Moses Lake Local Book. Don't be the only business left out. In print or online, it's the best way to reach your customer when they're ready to buy. Call today to place your ad by calling 877-738-9829 or by visiting us online at www.statewideyp.com. The Moses Lake Local Book Telephone Directory. Simply the best advertising.
Welcome back. The next story is about Ephrata's Lee Theater that is now under new ownership. Reporter Jeff Chu met with the new owner and has the story.
Randy Fairchild is returning to Ephrata as the owner of the Lee Theater. Fairchild, whose brother Jeff owns Fairchild Cinemas in Moses Lake and other movie theaters in the Tri-Cities, bought back the Lee Theater from the Whetstone family. Randy Fairchild owned the Lee Theater from 2000 to 2006 and then sold it to the Whetstone family, who are selling it back to him. He explained why.
It's something you have to work at and devote time to, and they have a large family, and Steve has another job, and it was just getting to be, I think, too much for them to continue on with, so they wanted to divest, and so we decided to come back.
Fairchild left Ephrata in 2006 to help his brother build a movie theater in Pasco. He then returned to Moses Lake to manage Fairchild Cinemas, which his brother had built some 15 years ago. Fairchild said there is one major improvement this year he will make to the Ephrata Theater.
We're going to be putting in some new seats in the auditoriums, some nice seats. I think people will really like them. I hope to happen here, at least in a couple of the auditoriums, very quickly. The other one may take a little bit longer.
There are 300 seats in the main theater and 90 seats in the upstairs theaters. Fairchild said he and his wife will move from Moses Lake to Ephrata to run the Lee Theater. He says some of the Whetstones will remain as employees. The Real Pizza restaurant inside the theater, which Fairchild started up in the 1990s, will remain open. I'm Jeff Chu for iFiber One News.
Rounding out this week's news coverage is a story about a Boy Scout troop that's been cleaning up dozens of whipped cream cans along Dodson Road near Ephrata. Reporter Jeff Chu has the story.
Ever wonder why there are so many whipping cream cans lying in the drainage ditch on Dodson Road south of Ephrata? The cans have been tossed into the drainage ditch with the cream still in them. Grant County Sheriff's Office spokesman Kyle Foreman explained.
Whipped cream in a can is propelled by nitrous oxide, which is also known as laughing gas, which is the same sedation that a dentist would give you when you're having your teeth worked on. So what we think people are doing is they're going out and buying the whipped cream in the can, and they are puffing off the nitrous oxide, which is in the can, and then discarding the can with the whipped cream.
Ephrata Boy Scout crew leader Troy Pugh discovered the cans in high numbers when he and his scout crew collected litter along the road as a community service. First time they collected litter along Dodson Road, they discovered 20 whipping cream cans. A short time later, they picked up even more than that as littering continues. Foreman said nitrous oxide use and abuse has been going on for some time.
Now, this is nothing new. People have been abusing the nitrous oxide out of whipped cream cans for a long time. Restaurants, if you've noticed, will have a whipped cream container that they'll put the whipped cream on your dessert, but it comes with a little cartridge that has nitrous oxide in it. And for many, many years, people have been using those and inhaling the nitrous oxide. Those are called whippets. It's been done for a long time. It's just a inexpensive, temporary euphoria for people who do abuse it.
Whippets have been known to cause people to become dizzy and pass out. They can also cause brain damage. The same can be said for the laughing gas that comes out of canned whipping cream.
One part about that is it says specifically on the can to not do that. So the manufacturer of the whipped cream just wants to sell whipped cream. He's not intending for people to suck off the nitrous oxide out of the can. Nitrous oxide, when it's abused, can be dangerous to your health. It's not safe for people to do that because that's not what it's intended to be used for.
Pugh and his scouts expressed concerns about potential abuse of nitrous oxide inhaling that could lead to a deadly car crash along Dotson Road. I'm Jeff Chu reporting with Joe Utter for iFiber One News.
That wraps up our weekend edition. iFiber One News will be back on Monday at 5 p.m. with the latest news from around the Columbia Basin. Thank you for watching.